Have you ever noticed how smart you feel after a stressful moment is already over? Like after an exam, you suddenly remember all the right answers. After an argument, you think, I should have said that. After a deadline panic, you realize there was actually a simple solution. That's because under pressure, most people don't lose intelligence, they lose clarity. And the scary part is, pressure is everywhere now. School exams, job interviews, presentations, money problems, social situations, even small things like replying to a message or making a quick decision. So if you can't think clearly under pressure, life starts to feel much harder than it needs to be. But here's the good news. Clear thinking under pressure is not a talent, it's a skill. And skills can be trained. Let me say this first because it's important. The goal is not to feel calm all the time. That's unrealistic. The real goal is this. Even when your heart is racing, your thoughts don't fall apart. Most people believe pressure makes them stupid. That's not true. Pressure just pushes the brain into survival mode. When the brain thinks there's danger, it asks only one question. Am I safe right now? Not, what's the smartest choice? What's the long-term plan? What's the best way to communicate? So when pressure hits, your brain narrows your focus. It speeds up. It reacts. It looks for quick relief, not correct answers. That's why people panic buy, overshare, procrastinate, lash out, or freeze. Clear thinking begins when you understand this. Your first reaction under pressure is almost never your best one. So instead of trusting the first thought, you learn how to slow the process just enough. Not to stop pressure, but to create a small gap between stimulus and response. That gap is where clarity lives. One of the biggest mistakes people make is trying to think harder when stressed. They force themselves to analyze, overthink, replay scenarios in their head. But pressure plus overthinking equals mental chaos. Clear thinkers do the opposite. They simplify. When pressure hits, they reduce the problem instead of expanding it. Here's a simple rule you can remember. Under pressure, fewer thoughts beat better thoughts. Instead of asking 5 questions, ask 1. Instead of thinking 10 steps ahead, think about the next step. For example, imagine you're in an exam and your mind goes blank. Most people think, what if I fail? What will my parents think? I'm so bad at this. I studied this, why can't I remember? That spiral kills clarity. A clear thinker asks only this. What is the easiest question I can answer right now? That's it. One question, one action. Momentum brings clarity back. The same applies at work. You get a stressful email from your boss. Your heart beats faster. Your brain starts creating stories. A clear thinker pauses and asks, what is this email actually asking me to do? Not, am I in trouble? Do they hate my work? What if I get fired? Those thoughts feel real, but they're noise. Pressure lies. It makes everything feel bigger, more urgent, more personal than it really is. Clear thinking means learning how to separate facts from feelings. Facts are usually very boring. Feelings are very loud. Under pressure, loud things feel important, but important things are usually quiet. Here's another powerful shift. Most people try to remove pressure before acting. They tell themselves, I'll do this when I feel calm. That moment never comes. Clear thinkers act with pressure, not after it. They don't wait for confidence. They don't wait for motivation. They don't wait to feel ready. They use action to create clarity. Think about this. When you're confused, sitting and thinking rarely helps. But when you start doing something small, your mind organizes itself. Action gives your brain structure. That's why cleaning your desk helps you think. Writing one sentence helps you write a whole page. Starting the task reduces the fear of the task. Pressure hates movement. It feeds on hesitation. So when pressure shows up, don't ask, what's the perfect move? Ask, what's a safe, small move I can make right now? Clear thinking is often boring and simple. That's why most people ignore it. They want dramatic breakthroughs, but clarity comes from boring habits. One habit that changes everything is learning to control your inner voice under stress. Under pressure, your inner voice often becomes aggressive. It rushes you, it insults you, it panics. You're running out of time. You always mess this up. Everyone is watching. That voice feels automatic, but it's not permanent. Clear thinkers talk to themselves differently, not in a fake positive way, but in a calm, instructional way. Instead of, "I'm so bad at this," they say, "Okay, slow down, one step at a time." Instead of, "This is too much," they say, "Handle the next minute." You wouldn't scream at a friend who's under pressure, so why do it to yourself? Your brain listens to tone more than words. A calmer tone creates calmer thinking. Another thing most people don't realize is that clarity is physical, not just mental. When pressure hits, your body tightens, shoulders rise, jaw clenches, breathing becomes shallow. A tense body creates a tense mind. Clear thinkers use the body to calm the brain. You don't need fancy techniques, just slow your breathing slightly. Longer exhales than inhales. This tells your nervous system, we're not dying. Once the body feels safer, the mind becomes clearer automatically. You don't need to eliminate stress. You need to lower it just enough so your thinking brain comes back online. This is why some people seem calm in chaos, not because they care less, but because they manage pressure at the physical level first. There's also a mindset shift that makes a huge difference. Most people see pressure as a signal of danger. Clear thinkers see pressure as a signal of importance. Pressure means this moment matters. That's not a bad thing. If you didn't care, there would be no pressure. So instead of fighting it, you acknowledge it. You say, "Okay, this matters. That's why I feel this way." That acceptance alone reduces mental resistance. Clarity doesn't come from pretending pressure isn't there. It comes from learning how to stand steady inside it. And once you realize that pressure doesn't have to control your thoughts, everything changes. You stop panicking as fast. You recover quicker. You make fewer decisions you regret later. In the next part, we'll go deeper into practical mental frameworks you can use in real time, during exams, conversations, mistakes, and high-stakes moments to keep your thinking clear even when everything feels intense. One of the biggest reasons people lose clarity under pressure is that they try to control everything at once. They want to control the outcome, the timing, how others see them, and how they feel, all in the same moment. That's impossible. Clear thinkers focus on what they can influence, not what they can't. When pressure hits, ask yourself this simple question. What is under my control right now? Not tomorrow, not the final result, right now. Maybe you can control your posture, your breathing, the first sentence you say, the first problem you solve. That's enough. Pressure feels overwhelming when you think globally. Clarity comes back when you think locally. Another powerful tool is learning to delay emotional reactions. This doesn't mean suppressing emotions. It means not letting emotions drive your decisions immediately. Under pressure, emotions arrive first. Logic arrives later. Clear thinkers don't reject emotions, they schedule them. They say, "I'll deal with how I feel after I deal with what needs to be done." This is especially important in conversations. Imagine someone criticizes you at work or school. Your first impulse might be to defend yourself, explain everything, or shut down. But clarity means pausing and asking, what is the most useful response right now? Sometimes the smartest response is simply, "Got it, I'll look into this." Not because you agree, but because reacting emotionally would make things worse. You can always explain later. You can't undo a reaction. Clear thinking is often about restraint, not intelligence. Another mistake people make is believing they need to feel confident to think clearly. Confidence is unreliable. It comes and goes. Clear thinkers rely on process, not confidence. They trust routines and principles they've practiced before pressure appears. That's why athletes train under stress. That's why pilots use checklists. That's why professionals have systems. When pressure hits, you don't rise to the occasion, you fall back to your training. So instead of asking, how do I become confident under pressure, ask, what process can I follow even when I'm nervous? A simple process might be pause, breathe, identify one action, act. That's it. You don't need something complex, you need something repeatable. Clarity is built before pressure shows up. If your life is chaotic when things are calm, it will be chaos when things are stressful. Clear thinkers simplify their lives in advance. They don't overload their schedule. They don't say yes to everything. They don't procrastinate small tasks until they become emergencies. Most pressure is self-created. Deadlines feel intense because we delay. Conversations feel scary because we avoid them. Decisions feel heavy because we refuse to make smaller ones earlier. Clear thinking under pressure often starts with clear living without pressure. There's also an important truth most people don't like to hear. You will never think perfectly under pressure. And that's okay. The goal is not perfect decisions, the goal is fewer bad ones. Clear thinkers accept imperfection. They don't aim to be flawless, they aim to be functional. They ask, what decision will I regret the least? Not, what decision guarantees success? Pressure makes us chase certainty. Clarity accepts uncertainty and moves anyway. Another skill that matters a lot is perspective. Under pressure, the brain zooms in too much. Everything feels like a life or death situation. Clear thinkers zoom out deliberately. They ask, will this matter in a week? In a month? In a year? Most things won't. This doesn't mean you stop caring, it means you stop catastrophizing. Zooming out reduces emotional intensity. Lower emotional intensity improves thinking. That's why talking to someone calm helps. They're not emotionally inside the problem. Over time, you learn to become that calm voice for yourself. Clear thinkers also accept responsibility without self-attack. When something goes wrong under pressure, most people either blame others or destroy themselves mentally. Neither helps. Clarity sounds like this. Okay, this is on me. What's the fix? No drama, no excuses, no shame spiral. Shame kills clarity. Responsibility restores it. Another underrated skill is learning when not to decide. Under pressure, people rush decisions just to escape discomfort. They choose quickly not because it's right, but because it's over. Clear thinkers recognize when a decision can wait. They say, I need more information. Let me get back to you. I'll decide tomorrow. If the situation allows it, delaying a decision is a form of intelligence. Urgency is often artificial. Just because something feels urgent doesn't mean it is. Clear thinkers are comfortable sitting with discomfort a little longer if it leads to a better outcome. Over time, thinking clearly under pressure builds self-trust. You start to believe, even if this gets stressful, I can handle it. That belief alone reduces pressure next time. Confidence doesn't come from always winning. It comes from surviving difficult moments without falling apart. And here's something important to remember. Clear thinking is not about being emotionless. It's about being directed. You still feel fear. You still feel stress. You still feel doubt. But those feelings no longer control your behavior. You choose your response. And the more you practice this, the faster clarity returns. At first, it might take minutes, then seconds. Eventually, it becomes natural. You stop panicking as much. You stop saying things you regret. You stop freezing when things get hard. You become someone others trust in stressful situations. Not because you're smarter, but because you're steadier. And that's a powerful place to be. So next time pressure shows up, and it will, remember this. You don't need to eliminate it. You don't need to escape it. You just need to slow it down enough to think. Clarity is not the absence of pressure. It's the ability to move forward despite it. And that skill will quietly change your life.